Good afternoon. When I listened to yesterday morning's sharing, our session yesterday morning, I found it to be quite somber. And I'm going to have to remember to smile a lot more this this episode to kind of make up for last episode. But I really was talking about a somber topic, and I didn't really appreciate how meaningful, how impactful it was, the experience. And about what you lose at awakening. And already, just the weight of that makes me somber. But I ended on an upbeat note that you gradually learn to appreciate the loss, even to the point of celebration. And then after this up and down, kind of topsy-turvy, flipping everything upside down through what seemed to be the case. The opposite of everything that I thought was true turned out to be true. And I do chuckle, I do find the humor in that. Well, after all, what would it be? What fun would it be if it unraveled exactly how we had anticipated? Isn't that one of the joys of life? The uncertitude. We just don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment. Completely, after all, out of our control. But what we can learn to begin making the effort is controlling our response, our reaction. Acceptance is really key here. To be prepared to accept whatever to come. And other than that, I can't think much. I can't think about what much more that we can do. This is one of the do's. Learn to be prepared. Practice preparation. Preparation to accept everything exactly as it is and as it unfolds. This is where equanimity serves me well. And I suggest that everyone cultivate this equanimity. It does nothing to alleviate, to disappear the ups and downs, the highs, the lows. It doesn't replace it with a middle. It's not like being numb, flatline. Quite the contrary. It's like being on a stormy sea with a ring, a buoy, life buoy ring around under your arms. And you float with the highs and the lows. Hang on for dear life at times. But there is protection. Equanimity is a protection from the ravages of the ups and downs. It's being in a witness state instead of a vested state. You observe what happens. You're not tied to any kind of evaluation of occurrences that life brings your way. You're no more elated by an happenstance, a happy occurrence, than you are depressed by its opposite. And remember, this world is a pendulum. It's equilibrium. The pendulum, good, bad, boom, boom. And you step outside, witness what's happening. Witness the pendulum swings, knowing full well the laws of physics says that. And another law of physics that comes into play here that you would do well to bear in mind is for every action, there's a reaction. So you can escape this wheel, action, reaction. Sort of a karmic wheel. You can escape this by being constantly and consistently in the witness state, just watching with a quiet acceptance. And this quiet acceptance is what I'm talking about today. To coming from a quiet place. This is the witness state, isn't it? That your safe harbor, your refuge from the storm is your equanimity, which is made possible by maintaining a quiet place. And it's interesting that how an ardent practicer of equanimity misses the true nature of silence. What silence really means. And while laughing at the mostly futile efforts I spent years and years hoping to attain clarity through silence without first understanding the true nature of silence. How was I going to use something to attain something else? Use silence to obtain clarity if at first I don't understand silence, the true nature of silence, much less in my step-by-step, baby steps, right? Step by step. Take a look at silence. In these, you can go back and look, if you're so inclined, look at the titles of my sharings, and you can see a lot about silence. But obviously, I haven't put it to rest. I haven't silenced silence somehow. And that's a good thing. Because like equanimity, which I have personally found to be sustainable as long as I remained in the witness mode, the witness identification, as long as I was not personally vested in any outcome, any occurrence, any experience. There is that distance. And don't get me wrong, I remain fully engaged with what's happening. It's almost a duality here. The witness and the victim. You can be a victim of a happy happenstance and a sad happenstance. Both of them within themselves contain their own seeds to disrupt your equanimity. And I've always felt the presence of a witness is looking down. Even as I speak, I can feel the witness somewhere watching me speak. And I am 100% fully engaged with what I'm sharing. But at the same time, the reality of a separate witness coexisting seamlessly, effortlessly. So the way to deal with life is not anticipate, yearn, expect, promote. Instead, is to watch everything from your own quiet place. And I suggest that in early stages of your visualization, meditation practice, you might create your quiet, safe place. You might embellish it, you might expand, you might even see what it could consist of. How's it decorated? You can decorate it however you want. It's free. Yeah, you can be as creative. Or you can be accepting, just accept a bare cave. Whatever gives you that sense of safety, and there's something that you can identify with, that you can return to again and again as needed, until you learn that this place you've created, and you appreciate that this place that you've created is always with you. This quiet place. So you can come from all your interaction, everything that you have to say, the way you deal with the circumstance of life is from this quiet place. And it's interesting to me because quiet is, right? Still, quiet, in silence, in the hierarchy of my previous understanding of what silence was, the absence of sound, leading to a clear mind, clear thinking. Having sustained this unsupportable position that silencing the mind will lead to clear thinking. Didn't happen. And the irony of this doesn't escape me, because it was my limited interpretation, which always turns out to be the case, right? When we try to interpret the great unknown, we shouldn't be very surprised that we have some kind of skewed, misguided perception. And ironically, my deeper understanding of silence came from momentary glimpses, momentary experiences of bliss. There's too much energy out there, you know? There's too much. It's so vast. And personally, I can only take it in small doses. Otherwise, I would implode. I felt like I would implode, disappear, not explode, implode, disappear on the inside, like going into the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland's rabbit hole, implodes, too much bliss, and then what happens? Energy comes in, and it escapes through the crown chakra, straight up. And that's how you leave, folks. That's the exit. Where the rubber hits the road. Where the soul leaves the body. So whether or not this would happen, sustaining a blissful state and maintaining this physical form at this point can't exist for me. But it doesn't mean that bliss is there. And interestingly enough, if I try to pursue this minute, if I say I want to be in bliss, it becomes more and more elusive. The nature, my experience with bliss is it comes unsolicited, unexpectedly. When your guard's down, boom, you got it. Okay? But I know the infinite bliss is a consistency. For me, bliss is the name of the white light, the energy of the infinite, which has unlimited presence. We're swimming in the ocean of bliss, just like a fish swims in the ocean or the river, enclosed, encased, surrounded by water. So too is bliss like this. It envelops us. We're in this. And the question is, do you think the fish is aware of the bliss? I'm sorry, the fish is aware of the ocean. The fish is aware of the water. I meant, I'm trying to make a comparison here. We're no more aware of our ocean of bliss, our surroundings of bliss, our immersion in bliss, than the fish is in the water. But take the fish out of the water. See what happens. Remove us from bliss. And this is what happens when we leave our body, when we're passing over. We leave our body behind, and our body is no longer sustained by the ocean of bliss. Our body instead becomes fertile ground, fertilizer for new, unique expressions of life, which continues the cycle. Now, silence is sustainable. Just as equanimity is sustainable. I had an easier time somehow looking at the word quiet coming from a quiet place. It means to me that there's still sounds, but they're soft sounds, pleasing sounds, rhythmic sounds. But silence, I was limited to my perception of silence by expecting it to be absence of sound, just as clarity was seen as absence of doubt. Neither of these, interestingly enough, not surprisingly, neither of these two precepts, two observations that I've made are just not so. So if I can set quiet with noise, some noise, not discordant, not displeasing, comforting sound, because sound is another signpost of life, isn't it? Life is about sound. As I mentioned previously, life is about movement. Life is about sound. So, can I start looking at silence? Instead of coming from a quiet place, can I bump it up a notch? If it's, and say, coming from a silent place? And the answer is yes. Eventually, it's a work in progress. It's in the realm of possibilities that I can have a deeper understanding of silence. And as I'm able to maintain coming from a quiet place, I'll be able to expand by accepting that the parameters of silence was my limitation. I'm the one that put upon silence as the absence of sound. But I know on another level that the seed of noise lies within silence, just as the seed of silence lies within the most chaotic, disturbing noise. So it's all about being aware. It's all about practice. As you learn to deal with life from your quiet place, your safe place, as you begin to appreciate that you can be in a state of silence, no matter if you're standing on an overpass on the world's busiest freeway or visiting the world's busiest airport, standing on the tarmac. It's possible to maintain a state of silence. Not only maintain, but this is true meaning, the true understanding of meditation. That you be in a meditative state 24/7. Awake, sleep, dreaming, loving, working, wishing, helping, listening, speaking, sharing. This is a state of equilibrium. This is an expression of what equilibrium means. That just as any events does not consequentially in and of itself affect my balanced state of mind, my receptiveness, my willingness to take what comes in the same spirit, so that you can remain in a silent state, a state of silence in the most tumultuous times, whether the source is outward or inward. Now, inward is where we work. It's the only thing in the universe that we can have at least a modicum of impact. And the goal, the hope here is that there won't be any more, you inside won't be a source of tumultuous activity. Instead, it'll be a source of quiet, a source of silence, a source of refuge, a source of safety, and the place that we can keep track of the witness. We can communicate most closely with the witness. Remember, I introduced my two Buddhas, Dhammo and Roger Bacon. Dhammo is a court gesture, somersaulting, incessantly chattering. But if you listen to the chatter, it's brilliant bits, brilliant pieces. Whereas Roger Bacon, the Franciscan monk of the 13th century, it's silence. So my refuge has constantly in action, somersaulting, jibber jabber with gems of wisdom, Dhammo, and at the same time the quiet, stoic presence of my second Buddha. So this is where I think I found the seeds, I found the beginning, that each one of them equally is important to my life. Each one of them I want to emulate in some degree. It's the yin and the yang. And I don't discard one and embrace the other. The practice of keeping them internally. They sit on the chakra between the heart and the throat. They sit there with the green Buddha, my healing medical marvel. So I've been sharing these days the evolution, that progress is a continuation. It's a never-ending process. You need to look, to re-examine, to question every aspect of your life until the moment you pass.